Welcome students. I'm going to go through a tutorial and I'm going to do it in After Effects and we're going to animate a shape, right? We're going to animate a shape and we're going to concentrate on making some keyframes using position, scale, and the opacity in the transform part of the layer. So I have After Effects open. I'm going to say new project and I'm going to go here and say new composition. I'm going to name this and I'll probably have help from my Mr. Appleman. I'm going to name it Animated Shape. On the preset, I'm going to change that, make sure I have a high definition. I'm going to go to HD TV 1080 29.97 and I think that'll give me, my width is 1920, my height, my frame rate's 29.97, that's fine. I'm in square pixels, full resolution, I'm good. I'm going to go up to 3D render, make sure I have Cinema 4D. Okay, and I'm going to hit OK. All right, so I don't want that. Why did I get that? I'm going. Oh my God. Okay, so sorry about that. I'm gonna go and create. So first thing I'm gonna do is create a shape. I'm gonna go to the top of my workspace, my interface. I have the selection tool or the move tool right now. I'm gonna come over to the rectangle tool. I'm going to hold that down with my mouse. I'm left click, and if I hold it down, it shows me the rectangle, the rounded rectangle, the ellipse, and the polygon. I'm just going to grab the ellipse tool and come out here and drag a shape. I made a round circle. That'll work. If I want to change the color in it, I could come up to the fill and change that to a different color. I can also add a stroke to it. I think I'll add a white stroke. And I increase the size of that just by going over to the pixel, the PX, and I'm just going to drag over that. So I added 11 points on the stroke. I'm going back to my move tool. I can just hit B on my keyboard, or I can come over and select that arrow. So down here I have my shape layer and I'm gonna work on making this animate. I'm gonna go to the right and have it come back, and I'm gonna do that by opening transform. And transform, we have anchor point, position, scale, rotation, and opacity. I'm going to concentrate on the position of my shape, the scale or size of it, and the opacity. So how bright and full it is. If I take the opacity down, it'll become a little bit more transparent. Okay, so I'm going to start just by moving my shape down in this bottom left corner. I'm going to go to the position and I'm going to click the stopwatch. And my anchor point is right in the middle of my composition. So it'll be all measured from there, from that point. I have my first keyframe. And I'm going to work on a timeline of, let's see, I think I'll go up to, I'll do 10, 20, 30, and 40 seconds on that. So I'm just going to drag this to 40. And so I'm placing that there. And that'll put my timeline there. I'm going to drag Big Blue out to 10 seconds. And I'm going to add another keyframe. And I'm just going to add it by moving my shape up to the top up here. Okay? You can see it added another keyframe right there. And if I drag Big Blue back and I hit my space bar, it's already going in that direction. Pretty slow. That's way too slow. I'm going to cut this back down. I'm going to cut this down to there. To 5. I'm going to go to 10 with my timeline, and I'm going to drag my shape down to this right corner. So now if I drag Big Blue back and watch that change, I should get this shape going up around there and coming down to the opposite corner. Right. Okay. Intense. There we go. So I'm going to go to the next, dragging it 5 more, and I am going to, I want the position to come right back up here. So rather than move this time, I'm just going to copy that keyframe and put it right there. So how do I do that? I click on the keyframe, it turns blue. I come up to the top where it says edit, and I click on copy. And then I come right back up to edit and say paste. And that adds that animation. Now if I drag Big Blue back and I hit my space bar, I should have it coming up to the top, going all the way over to the other side, and then coming back to this keyframe that I copied. So I'm going to go 5 more to 20 seconds. And you guessed it, I'm going to copy my original keyframe where I'm back in this area and paste it right there. So I click on it, turns blue, edit, copy, edit, paste. And I have the full file. So now when I drag that back, it's coming up to the top and it's coming to the back. Okay, I'm going to move this. So we're right there. Let's see. Let's let that render through. Okay. I'm also going to let me move this over a little bit and get it right on that edge. Okay. I was hoping, I don't know why I can't. It's not letting me close that up. Wah. Okay. All right. There we go. So my next move is to go to the scale. And I want to make this a little bit smaller as it goes away, right? So to give it that illusion of depth, I'm going to have it go back. So I'm going to start with the scale and hit that stopwatch. Adds a keyframe there. And if I drag Big Blue up here, when it gets to there, I'm going to change the scale of that. So I'm going to add a keyframe. I'm just going to click on here, add that keyframe, and I'm going to move that scale from 100 down to about 75. And I'm going to drag it up here, and I'm going to copy the scale from my origin. So the ball is the same size as it was when it started. So I click on that, I say edit, copy, edit, paste. And then, you guessed it, when I get up here, I'm going to copy this one by clicking on that and say edit, copy, edit, paste. And my last one, when it returns back, I want it back in full size again. And I'm going to copy my original, say edit, copy, and edit, paste. Okay, so now I have this going on. It's a little bit smaller, giving it the illusion that it's actually going somewhere. And now I'm gonna reduce the opacity on that. You know, things recede. When things recede in our vision, they become a little bit dimmer. So I'm gonna take the opacity down. So I drag Big Blue back to the beginning, our time indicator, which I affectionately call Big Blue. I'm going to click on the opacity this time. And my opacity's full there. Then I'm going to move at its farthest point and take the opacity down to 50. And I'm just dragging it. You could actually click on it if you want to and type in 50. And then back at this point, I want the original, so I'm going to click on the full opacity and edit, copy, and edit, paste. And then when it comes back up, I want it back down. So I'm going to choose this one, click on that, edit, copy, edit, paste. And when it returns full bore, I should have it back at its full brightness. So I can either copy that. I can also just click on, add a keyframe, and turn this back to 100 to what it was. Same thing. Sometimes just copying and pasting just allows me to do that. So now I just press my space bar. It goes farther away, gets a little bit smaller, it also gets a little bit dimmer. And then when it comes back, it's brightening and reverse. So that's the shape animation. Just a few tricks using keyframes with precision, scale, and opacity. I'm going to add one more layer. So I'm going to close all this up. And I'm going to come up and go up to layer and say new. And I'm going to add a text layer. And I'm going to write in there ball. And I'm going to take my move tool, or no, I'm going to use my type tool and just highlight this for a second. If you can't get all of it, you can, sometimes it doesn't want to select all of it. You can hold down your shift key and click on the letter or the other word that doesn't select, and it'll add it. I'm going to take the size down on that a little bit so it actually fits inside that ball. Okay. Let me get my move tool back and put it inside that ball. The only problem is with that color, I can't see it. So I'm going to change that color. My bad. And let me change that color by clicking on the square here. And I'll do a magenta. And move it back inside of there. Okay. So I have that. My ball still moves back and forth with my time indicator, but the ball doesn't. I want to attach that text to that ball so it follows that same path. Do I have to go back and add all those keyframes and transform it? No. After Effects allows me to parent and child this thing. So I can make the shape layer that we made be the parent, and the text layer, which we named ball, will be the child. I go to that ball layer and I come right over here. And if I hold my cursor on that, it says parent pick whip, select layer from which to inherit, transform. So I just left click and drag this, and you'll see it has a nice blue string, and I attach it to the shape layer. And now magically that text is tethered to my shape, and it magically follows that same path inside that ball. This is just a good beginning lesson for you when you see that you can attach movement from one object to another. All right, I'm going to render this out. I'm going to go up to comp, and I'm going to say pre-render, and I'm going to come down to output mode, and I'm just going to double click on QuickTime, and I want an MOV file. And I think for the sake of our classroom and my Mac, I'm actually going to come over to Format Options. And I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to go to the codec and change that to Apple ProRes 422. I think that'll work. I'm going to hit OK. And hit OK here. I'm going to come back to my output mode, and it's named Animated Shape Movie. I'm going to double click on that and make sure I know where it's going. It's going into my After Effects. I'm going to give this a name of, I'm just going to put Animated Shape 1. And it's going into my After Effects folder. So I hit save. And I come over to the right and say render, and it renders through. We'll see if we'll watch it. There should be a nice little ding when it's finished to notify me. So this lesson really just kind of shows you that we can add keyframes to a shape. We did it before with a text, and we animated it, and we added a 3D effect to it. This also shows you the parent and child aspect of the layers, that I can add another layer, whether it be a shape, a text, or even a light, and attach it to another layer using that effect of the parent layer. So as it renders out, I'm just patiently waiting. I'm going to actually let it render all the way out, and I want to check to make sure it went to that output folder and show that it did come in as an MOV file by changing that output to Apple ProRes. I did that because sometimes the QuickTime Movie in After Effects, it'll render out, but unless I'm putting it right back into Premiere Pro, let's say, a lot of times the output won't work because it's missing some functions in that file. So I want to check it. That's why I changed it to Apple ProRes today on this one. Okay, it's done. I'm going to go check. I'm going to Finder, and I'm going to go find my folder that I made that says After Effects, and I'm looking for, what did I name it? Animated shape 1. Okay, here it is. So it is there. I click on that, and that's the one I made, and it came out as an MOV file just fine. All right, that's it. Thank you so much.